made a presentation to council, and I'm sorry the council members that are here that have seen this are Jetco, but this was a map from 2002. We've shown it a couple of times, but just to give you some sense of scale of what's happened, you know, economic development, sometimes we go, well, I haven't seen much happening lately. You know, you have to look at it over time because it takes a while to build these projects. It takes time to make these projects happen. They're very big projects. They're very valuable. It takes years sometimes to build the projects. I mean, the summit at Rivery is probably a 3-year process from the beginning to the end or more before it builds out. But this was 2002, and if you get your bearings here, this is Interloop Road in the middle, 1460, I-35 on the left, and that is in 2002. Contrast that with 2014. So you can see that there's a tremendous amount of growth in that area. There's thousands of new jobs. There's hundreds of millions of dollars of new capital investment. And there's also a lot of new power users that have located in this area, like the new hospitals that have gone in, the data center, apartments, HEB site, TLCC, Austin Avenue Medical Plaza. But you have to look at it over time, and you begin to see that it's continuing to grow. And what we're trying to do now is speed up that growth, not just in this area, but in other areas as well. Here are some of the specific things that have happened, and these correspond to our strategic plan objectives. You can see medical, vehicle manufacturing, military electronics, data centers. All of these are targets that were adopted by City Council, and those are why we work on particular sectors. The City Council has directed us to get high wage, high impact, high power user projects, and we've been successful in doing that. 80% of projects go into existing buildings. So we worked very hard to work with developers who would build spec buildings. We're trying to make the help the developers see that there's great opportunity, and we have 2 buildings that are coming out of the ground. The Tote spec building over by the airport and Intervisions, and I think we've got pictures of those. Plus we had the TLCC building number 2 completing here in 2015. So this year 135,000 square feet of buildings are being completed, and already projects are in the process of leasing up or looking at leasing up the spec buildings that have been put in. Horizon project, the Westinghouse Road TIRZ, that is a mechanism which allows for infrastructure to be invested in, and the expectation, we have a commitment from a developer right now who will build a 50,000 square foot Class A spec office building, but will lay out an office park to build out 1 million square feet of Class A office space. Excuse me. That will put us in a position to go after the kinds of projects that are landing in Round Rock right now. I think they just announced a 270 job office project. If we don't have this, then the companies can't visualize coming into just a green field, that it's too raw. So unless you have a plan and it looks like you're close, you really can't be competitive for these kinds of projects. So that's why it was important to put this TIRZ in so that we could drive water and wastewater all the way down almost to where Bass Pro Shop is. That area is in Georgetown. The reason it hasn't developed, it didn't have the roads, it didn't have the water, it didn't have the wastewater. It now will have that. Once that gets put in, you're going to see Westinghouse Road literally just like turn into University Boulevard in Round Rock, and it'll happen quick. That will lead to 3,000 to 6,000 office jobs. So that puts us in a position to go after the really big things that are landing in downtown Austin. And we feel like we have a great story and an alternative to being in downtown. In fact, the City of Austin is at a point where they feel like they're full up. We've already talked to the Austin Chamber, and they're in a position to push those large projects out to us as soon as we get this plan in place. So it's happening right now. So that's why what we've been working on, to go after corporate headquarters, technology office, and high wage jobs. In the corporate headquarters, we really feel like we're in a position to be able to be competitive for those kinds of projects with the great community that we have. It just is a natural fit. Here's the tower crane that Summit at Rivery, I just drove by there. Looks like they've got 3 floors in, so it'll be 220 rooms with $65 million of capital investment, plus they'll have another $75 million worth of retail. The whole project will be about $250 million when completed, so it's a really big deal with probably 1,000 jobs. All three taxing entities now offer the Freeport exemption. What the Freeport exemption does and why it's important, it's an exemption of property taxes on inventory. So that means very large corporations that have $50, $100 million worth of inventory, they can have an exemption on the property taxes based on the percentage of goods shipped out of Texas. Triple Freeport is kind of a buzzword in economic development, and you either have it or you don't. And so we were not included in the HID global search because we did not have the Triple Freeport exemption. What we'll have to do to make this happen, and this is kind of the technical part, we're going to have to get in lieu of taxes agreements signed with the companies that already take the Freeport exemption, and that way the school district is held harmless and doesn't have a fiscal impact. It's really a great deal because the state comes back in and offsets the school district's loss, so they're never out any funds, but we create an incredible incentive. But let's say a company has $100 million in inventory and our combined tax rate is that number, then that's $2.3 million annually of taxes. So if you were looking at going to Oklahoma, that number would be 0. So you can see that, you know, if you're competing on a project, a large inventory project with $100 million, and you can do the math, if it's $100 million worth of inventory, it's probably 500 jobs, or it's probably 800 jobs. So it lends itself to very big projects. $23 million over 10 years. So if a company ships 80% of their goods out of state, which a larger company will likely do, then this becomes very beneficial to a national level or international level company. So they would have a savings if you had offered the Triple Freeport exemption of $1.8 million. So, but you still get the benefit of the property tax on the building, the jobs, electric usage, all the other things.